You know that specific sinking feeling.
Oh, yeah.
It's Tuesday afternoon, you check the weather app and you see that little dark cloud icon, the one with the heavy slanted raindrops.
For a lot of people, that's just, grab an umbrella.
Right. Or reschedule a tea time. But for a homeowner in Oxford, Connecticut, seeing that in the forecast, it triggers this very specific anxiety.
It's the dread of the permanent puddle.
Exactly. It's the dread of watching the water inch closer and closer to the foundation. It's the sound of the basement sump pump running every 30 seconds and just praying the power doesn't go out.
Right. But I think for a lot of people, that anxiety is paired with another fear.
The fear of the fix.
The fear of the fix.
Yeah.
The assumption is that to solve a drainage problem, you have to turn your property into a scene from, I don't know, Mad Max.
Yes. We picture trenches everywhere, mud for months, heavy machinery parking on the prized petunias.
Total disaster zone.
It feels like you have to choose between a wet basement or a completely destroyed lawn. So today, we are going to debunk that myth. We're doing a deep dive into the reality of professional yard drainage excavation.
We're going to look at the physics of why our yards are failing, the specific geology of a place like Oxford.
And the actual, day-by-day timeline of a modern drainage install.
And to keep us grounded in reality, we're analyzing documentation on excavation practices, specifically in Oxford, drawing heavily on the guidelines and expertise of prestige CT excavation and drainage.
Okay, so let's start with the context. I feel like this wasn't a topic of conversation at dinner parties 20 years ago. Is it just me, or is the ground actually getting wetter?
It is definitely not just you. It's hard data. The baseline for what we consider normal weather it's shifted significantly.
I thought so.
If you look at the precipitation data for Connecticut over the last few decades, there has been roughly a 38% increase in annual precipitation.
38%? Wow. I mean, that is a massive load for any infrastructure to handle.
It is a massive load. But the total volume isn't even the main issue. It's the intensity.
The distribution has changed.
Exactly. We're seeing these hyper-localized extreme events, storms in southwestern Connecticut dumping like 10 inches of rain in a 24-hour period.
Right. So the infrastructure, and I'm including the dirt itself as infrastructure here,
The soil.
that worked in 1990 simply cannot process that velocity of water.
Not even close. It's completely overwhelmed. And this is where the geology of Oxford comes into play. Oxford isn't a flat, sandy beach where water just, vanishes.
No.
It sits within these complex mapped natural drainage basins. You have ridges, you have valleys, and you have some very specific soil types.
And the soil composition really matters here, doesn't it? It's not all just dirt.
Hugely. A lot of homes in this area are built on glacial till or compacted clay soils. Think of clay like a ceramic bowl.
Okay.
It doesn't absorb water quickly, it just holds it. So when you combine that non-porous geology with a 38% increase in
The
water,
ground just gives up.
it hits what we call saturation excess very, very quickly.
Saturation excess. That sounds like a technical way of saying the sponge is full.
That is exactly what it is. Once the soil pore space is filled, the water has nowhere to go but strictly downhill.
Into low spots, pooling on patios.
Or the worst case scenario, migrating laterally through the soil and pressing against your foundation walls. That creates hydrostatic pressure.
Which is how you get a wet basement even if you can't find a hole in the wall. The water is literally being pushed through the concrete.
Pushed by the sheer weight of the water in your yard. So the problem is real, the climate is driving it, and the geology is working against us.
Okay, let's pivot to the solution. And let's address the elephant in the room, the war zone myth. This is probably the biggest psychological barrier to getting the work done, right?
Oh, absolutely. Homeowners will delay necessary repairs for years because they think they're signing up for a season-long construction project.
Living on a dirt pile for the entire summer.
That's the fear.
But the source material we looked at suggests that's a really outdated view of excavation.
Completely. Modern excavation, especially the way crews like Prestige CT operate, it's surgical. It's highly targeted.
Okay.
They aren't just stripping the entire property for fun. They identify the hydrology of the yard, where's the water coming from, where does it need to go, and they excavate strictly along those vectors.
So instead of like carpet bombing the lawn, it's more like...
It's laparoscopic surgery. That's the perfect analogy.
Yeah, surgery. And because it's so targeted, the disruption is measured in days, not seasons.
Phases, not seasons.
I want to hold you to that. Days sounds optimistic for heavy machinery. Let's stress test this timeline. I'm a homeowner in Oxford. I hire the crew. Walk me through the week. Day 1, the trucks pull up.
Day 1 is the shock day. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but this is visually the most intense part of the process.
This is where the Band-Aid gets ripped off.
Right. But it starts with a lot of precision. Before a single bucket ever hits the dirt, there's the walkthrough. The contractor and operators are verifying the layout. And crucially, utilities.
The call before you dig protocols.
Which is non-negotiable. I mean, in Oxford, you could have buried propane lines, electric dog fences, internet cables. You have to mark those out.
Of course.
Hitting a gas line turns a drainage project into a generic emergency very, very fast.
Okay, so everyone is safe, the lines are painted, then the digging starts.
Then they establish what are called access paths. This is a detail amateurs miss.
Access paths.
You don't just drive the excavator wherever you feel like it. You pick one route, often laying down plywood or specialized ground protection mats to distribute the weight to get from the street to the dig site.
Yeah.
This saves the rest of the lawn from getting chewed up by the tracks.
Okay, so by lunch on day 1, trenches are opening up.
Yes. Sod is stripped and set aside, or disposed of, depending on the quality.
Yeah.
Soil is stockpiled right next to the trench. It looks messy. It looks like a construction site.
But it's a controlled mess.
Exactly. Now, moving into day 2 and 3, we get to the installation. And this is where the technical nuance really, really matters. This is where we separate a hole in the ground from a drainage system.
The sources mentioned a distinction between pipe types. I have to admit, I always just assumed a pipe is a pipe, as long as it has holes in it.
That's the big box store mentality.
Yeah.
A lot of DIY kits use that black corrugated pipe, the flexible stuff with the ridges inside and out.
Right. It looks like a giant black bendy straw.
And the problem with the bendy straw design is friction. Those ridges on the inside, they create turbulence. But more importantly, they trap sediment. Silt and small debris get caught in the ridges. Over 5 or 10 years, that just builds up.
Like plaque in an artery.
Exactly like plaque in an artery. And eventually the flow just stops. Best practices and what you'll see from pros like Prestige CT often involve using smooth interior pipe, usually a rigid PVC or high-grade dual-wall pipe.
So the outside might be corrugated for strength, but the inside is smooth like a slide.
Correct. The smooth interior allows for a much higher flow velocity. That velocity is self-cleaning. It flushes the debris out rather than letting it settle. It's a massive difference in the longevity of the system.
That's a great insight. It's not just about capacity, it's about velocity.
All about velocity.
So they lay the pipe. What about the term French drain we hear constantly? Is that just a fancy word for a trench?
It sounds culinary, but it's purely engineering. A French drain is for subsurface water.
Okay.
You dig a trench, maybe 18 inches deep. You line it with a geotextile fabric that's crucial. It acts as a filter so dirt doesn't clog the stones.
Right.
You put in the pipe, surround it with washed gravel, and then you fold the fabric over it like a burrito.
The burrito method. I like it.
Essentially. Then you bury it. It intercepts the water moving through the soil before it ever reaches your foundation.
Okay, so that handles the underground water. What about the water rushing across the top of the grass during a downpour?
That's where you use a swale.
Which is just a shallow ditch.
A carefully engineered shallow ditch, yeah. It's a depression cut into the surface, but it's graded to look like just a gentle dip in the lawn. It catches that surface runoff and steers it where you want it to go.
Got it. So back to the timeline. Days 2 and 3, the pipes are in, the gravel is placed, we're reaching the end of the disruption.
Day 3 to 5 is what I call the closure phase. They backfill the trenches, and then they do the final grading. This is where they reshape the surface soil to ensure a positive pitch away from the house.
And this is where the Connecticut regulations kick in pretty hard, right? The sources mentioned erosion control.
Yes. Connecticut and Oxford specifically take sediment control very seriously. You can't just leave bare dirt exposed for weeks.
Because if a rainstorm comes,
that mud just washes into the street or into the local wetlands.
So the contractor is legally obligated to cover their tracks, so to speak.
They have to stabilize it.
Yeah.
That means applying seed, straw, hay, or erosion control blankets pretty much immediately. By the end of day 5 on a standard project, the machines are gone, the dirt is covered, and the grass is already starting its recovery clock.
So less than a week. That is significantly different from the summer-long nightmare that people imagine.
Drastically different. Now, we do have to add a caveat here. That's a standard timeline.
And no yard is truly standard. What throws a wrench in the gears?
Oxford terrain. If you have really steep slopes, or if you're working right up against a wetland buffer zone, or if you have a complex septic layout, those projects can push into the 1 to 2 week range.
And the sources mention a phased approach for those bigger jobs.
Right. If the job is massive, A good contractor won't tear up 100% of the yard at once. They might do the entire backyard first dig, pipe, close, seed before they even touch the front yard. It keeps the property livable.
That seems like a basic courtesy, but I can see how it helps manage the homeowner's anxiety. You always have a safe zone.
A safe zone for the kids or the dog, yeah.
Now, you mentioned septic systems. This is a huge deal in Oxford. Most people aren't on city sewer.
Almost no one is. And this is where amateur drainage work gets really dangerous.
Yeah.
There are very strict Connecticut public health code standards about separation distances. You cannot just dump a drainage pipe outlet right next to your septic leach field.
Why not? I mean, water is water, right?
It's about hydraulic loading. Your septic field works by letting wastewater trickle down into the soil to be treated. If you point a high-volume storm drain at that same patch of soil, you saturate it.
The sponge gets full again.
And when the sponge is full of rainwater, it can't accept the wastewater from your house. That causes something called groundwater mounding, and eventually it causes your septic system to back up.
Into the house. Okay, that is a catastrophic failure.
A total disaster.
So this isn't just digging a ditch, it's navigating a regulatory minefield between clean water and not clean water.
Correct. It's a puzzle involving physics, health codes, and property law.
Speaking of property law, let's talk about the neighbors. I feel like drainage wars are a real thing. I fix my swamp and suddenly my neighbor's driveway is a lake.
That is the classic common enemy doctrine scenario. But in modern regulations, specifically under the CT Stormwater Manual and HUD standards, there's basically a neighbor rule.
Which is?
You generally cannot increase the volume or velocity of water discharging onto a neighbor's property to their detriment. You can't just point the pipe at the fence line. The discharge has to go to an approved outlet.
What counts as an approved outlet in Oxford?
A town storm sewer, a proven natural water course like a stream, or a designated infiltration area on your own property like a dry well that can handle the volume.
So you have to deal with your own water on your own land.
Precisely. You solve your problem without creating one for someone else.
One other technical element I wanted to touch on, gutters. The sources call them the unsung villains.
Oh, they are. A huge percentage of basement water problems are just roof water mismanagement. Think about the surface area. If you have a 2,000 square foot roof, a 1-inch rainstorm generates over 1,200 gallons of water.
1,200 gallons. That's incredible. And if the downspout just ends at the corner of the house,
You are dumping 1,200 gallons of water directly onto your foundation footing. It's suicide for the basement. It essentially injects water exactly where you don't want it.
so the excavation crew handles this too.
Yes, it's called a tie-in. They bury a solid pipe from the bottom of the downspout, run it underground, and connect it to the main drainage system. The water never even touches the ground near the house,
It's a closed loop.
captured at the roof, and released 50 or 100 feet away.
I like that. Okay, let's get practical for the listener. I'm convinced I need to do this. I'm calling a pro, like prestige. What is my homework? Do I just sit and wait?
The most valuable thing you can do requires a raincoat. You need to do what I call wet weather homework.
Which means going out in the storm.
Exactly. Contractors often visit on sunny days. They can see the mud, but they can't see the flow.
Yeah.
If you can take a video on your phone showing, look, the water cascades off the driveway, hits this wall, and then pools here, that is forensic evidence.
That's a great point. It takes all the guesswork out of the diagnosis.
Also, dig out your paperwork, plot plans, septic is built. Knowing exactly where that tank is saves a lot of time and prevents accidental damage.
And I assume move the patio furniture.
Clear the decks, move the grill, the patio furniture, the dog toys. If the crew has to spend 2 hours moving your trampoline and the grill, that's 2 hours they aren't digging.
Good advice. Now let's fast forward. The job is done. The grass has grown back. The bill is paid. Is drainage a set it and forget it system?
I wish. It's low maintenance, not no maintenance.
What do I need to do?
Well, the system has inlets and outlets. You need to inspect them. After the leaves fall, check the catch basins. If the grate is covered in wet maple leaves, the water can't get in.
And check the discharge pipe at the other end.
Crucial. Critters love to build nests in dry pipes.
Yeah.
Or a branch might fall and block the exit. If the water can't get out, the whole system backs up. And for swales, mow them.
Don't let them turn into a jungle.
If the grass in a swale gets 2 feet tall and mats down, it basically creates a dam. It slows the water, causes silt to drop out, and eventually fills in the swale. You have to keep the machine clean.
That's a great way to put it. We usually think of a yard as a painting, something static we look at. But you're describing it as a machine.
It is a machine. It has inputs, which is rain, processes, which is infiltration, and outputs, which is drainage.
And right now, the inputs are changing. The climate is ramping up the volume.
Exactly. And if the inputs increase, you have to upgrade the machine. Relying on the natural grading from 1975 to handle the storms of 2026 is a failing strategy.
That is a powerful reframing. It's not just about fixing a puddle, it's about retrofitting your home's environment for the new reality.
And protecting the asset. We're talking about the structural integrity of the foundation. It's the most important investment you have.
Well, we've certainly busted the war zone myth today. It's clear that with the right expertise and strict adherence to those Connecticut regulations, this is a manageable surgical process.
Absolutely. A few days of disruption for decades of dry basements. It's a good trade.
A huge thank you to the team at Prestige CT Excavation and Drainage for the insights and the source material for this deep dive. They clearly know the dirt in Oxford better than anyone.
If you're in the area and you're watching the clouds gather, they're the ones to call.
I want to leave you with one final thought. Next time it rains, don't just close the blinds. Go outside, watch the water, ask yourself, is my machine working or is it time for an upgrade? Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay dry out there.